Have you ever had that really unsettling moment? You know, you're standing right there in your kitchen, maybe looking at the coffee maker you've used, I don't know, thousands of times.
Yeah.
And just for a second, your mind goes completely blank. Like, how does this thing even work?
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Or calling someone close by the wrong name.
Exactly. Or, taking a turn you always take in your neighborhood, and suddenly it just feels weirdly unfamiliar, confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just like a little memory blip, isn't it? It feels like, well, it hints at something deeper, something a bit scary.
It absolutely does. And what you're describing there, that unsettling slip, it's not just about where you put your keys or forgetting some minor detail.
Right.
It really tacks into this really primal human fear. It's the fear of losing bits of yourself, one memory then another.
Yeah.
Until maybe the person looking back at you in the mirror starts to feel, I don't know, like a stranger. It's a really vulnerable place to be. And frankly, way too many people are starting to experience it as they get older.
Totally. And the usual story we hear, what we're kind of told to expect, is that this is, just part of getting older.
Right. Gray hair or...
Yeah, like your joints start creaking or you need stronger glasses. It's just presented as, well, inevitable, part of the decline.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to ask, what if that whole assumption is just wrong? Like fundamentally wrong? What if it's not inevitable? What if, for loads of people, it could actually be preventable?
Well, that's the really bold counter-narrative that our source material today doesn't just hint at, it pretty much shouts it out loud.
Okay.
It directly challenges that whole fatalistic viewpoint, suggesting that actually a lot of this cognitive decline we just accept. Well, it could be prevented.
Oh.
And that's not just, a small tweak in how we see things. It's a massive shift. It moves us from just resigning ourselves to it to a place where we might actually have some real power, some empowerment. It's a really significant claim, and honestly one that needs a proper deep look.
And that's exactly what we're doing today in this deep dive. We're going to get right into some pretty fascinating material that asks this really provocative but also incredibly hopeful question. What if there are 6 specific vitamins, often kind of overlooked, that could basically build an invisible shield around your brain cells, protecting them from the stuff that steals memories, makes thinking foggy, and just robs you of that mental sharpness you've always had?
Right. And our goal here really is to unpack all of that, to carefully sort through, what might be just a misconception versus what the evidence in these sources really points to as, well, fact.
Okay.
And ultimately, to figure out what this practically means for you, listening right now, we want to give you information that, honestly, if you use it, could genuinely transform your brain health, your quality of life, for years, maybe even decades to come.
Okay, so to really get why this is so important, let's look at the scale of the problem first. The source material shares this really quite poignant story about a woman named Margaret.
I remember reading that.
Described as sharp as a tack, right? Could apparently beat anyone at crossword puzzles, remembered every single birthday in the neighborhood.
The kind of person you wish you had next door.
Totally. Sending cards before you even remembered it was coming up. But then, slowly, tragically, she started to fade. Became someone who, couldn't remember if she'd taken her morning pills, or would ask the same question again just minutes after getting an answer. It's a really heartbreaking picture.
It is.
And I think it resonates because so many of us have seen a loved one go through something similar, that slow, painful journey.
And Margaret's story, as personal and devastating as it feels, is unfortunately not unique at all. That's the stark reality. It's really a reflection of millions of seniors right now going through similar declines, often kind of hidden away, suffering quietly. This isn't just a few isolated cases. It really underlines the sheer size of what our sources call the cognitive decline epidemic. Yeah. And if you link that to the bigger demographic picture, the source gives a pretty stark warning. Dementia rates are skyrocketing, especially as the baby boomer generation, this huge group of people, keeps aging.
Right, the numbers are huge.
Exactly. And this shift means our healthcare system is, well, to put it gently, completely unprepared for the tsunami of cognitive impairment heading our way. The implications are just staggering, not just for individuals and families, but for society as a whole. Think about long-term care, the economy. It's a massive societal challenge that, honestly, we seem to be failing to really get ahead of.
And this is where the perspective in the source gets, well, really provocative, almost jarring, actually. It introduces this bold claim, almost sounds like a conspiracy theory at first glance. What most doctors won't tell you about brain-protecting vitamins for older adults is that Big Pharma makes zero profit when you prevent cognitive decline naturally. That's That's quite a statement.
It is a strong statement.
It sounds pretty critical of doctors and the system. Does the source explain why they think this is happening? Is it like deliberate suppression?
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
The source frames it less as a sort of conscious evil conspiracy by individuals and more as a systemic problem.
Ah.
It's rooted in the financial realities and, frankly, the priorities of our current healthcare model.
Okay.
They argue that prevention, especially natural prevention, using things like vitamins, which are often inexpensive, readily available, just doesn't create the kind of profit margins that patented prescription drugs do.
Right. You can't patent vitamin D.
Exactly. Pharmaceutical companies pour billions into developing new drugs. They expect, quite reasonably from a business perspective, a return on that huge investment through patents and, let's face it, high prices.
Makes sense from that angle.
So when you're talking about vitamins that might cost, as the source puts it, less than your monthly cable bill, well, there's just no major economic incentive for these massive corporations to fund huge studies or big marketing campaigns for them.
So the idea is that this potentially vital preventative info just kind of gets buried deeper than your car keys when you're already running late, as the source puts it.
That's the analogy they use, yeah. And the contrast is pretty stark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on potentially cheap natural prevention, the emphasis, the marketing dollars, the research funding often leans heavily towards expensive prescription drugs, being positioned as the only hope once decline starts. It forces you to think critically about how we approach health, prevention, and maybe the economic forces that influence what gets recommended.
Yeah, it really does. It makes you, the listener, wonder, if natural prevention could be so cheap, why isn't this common knowledge? Why aren't doctors routinely talking about it? It certainly makes you question what else might be getting overlooked.
Precisely. It points to a fundamental imbalance, perhaps. The system is largely set up to treat sickness after it happens, not necessarily to invest heavily in stopping it beforehand, especially if those preventative steps aren't particularly profitable for major industries.
Well, part of that whole negative view of aging we mentioned is this deep-seated idea that our brains just inevitably go downhill after a certain age. You know, brain cells die, game over, no replacements.
Dogma, yeah.
But what if? I mean, what if I told you your brain isn't just destined to fail because the calendar pages keep turning? What if that's another one of those big misconceptions we really need to challenge?
And that's exactly what some really exciting recent breakthrough research from leading neurological institutes is telling us. It's actually revolutionary stuff.
Okay.
This research, highlighted in our sources, shows that brain cells can, in fact, regenerate and form new connections well into your 80s and 90s.
Wow, really? Even then?
Even then, it completely challenges that old idea that once a brain cell is gone, it's gone for good. We call it neuroplasticity, neurogenesis. It suggests our brains are way more resilient and adaptable than we used to think.
That's amazing.
But, and this is a huge but, and where our deep dive really kicks off, this regeneration seems to happen only if they have the right nutritional building blocks.
Ah, okay. There's the catch.
Exactly. Without those fundamental components, the brain just doesn't have the raw materials it needs to repair itself, to rebuild, to optimize. So think of these 6 vitamins we're about to discuss as being like the construction workers for your brain.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, they're busy repairing damage, building new neural pathways, and crucially, protecting the existing brain cells from all the wear and tear of modern life. They're the materials and the crew needed to keep your brain running well, potentially long into old age.
Okay, let's get into these 6 pillars then. Pillar number 1 starts with something that honestly might surprise a lot of people. It's vitamin D. You hear vitamin D, you think strong bones, right? Calcium absorption. And yeah, it does that.
Absolutely, that's well known.
But our source emphasizes its equally critical, maybe even more surprising role as your brain's secret bodyguard.
And unfortunately, this bodyguard is, well, often AWOL for a huge chunk of the population. The stats are pretty shocking, actually. Deficiency affects over 80% of seniors.
80%, that's huge.
It's massive. This isn't some niche issue. It's a major public health problem that just flies under the radar a lot of the time. But here's the really shocking part. The direct, powerful link to cognitive decline. Okay. Studies our sources cite show low vitamin D levels are directly linked to a 394% increased risk of dementia.
Wait, say that again,
394%, nearly 4 times the risk. If your vitamin D is low, you are nearly 4 times more likely to develop dementia compared to someone with optimal levels. That's not just a small risk factor. It's a dramatic, game-changing increase in your vulnerability.
That's staggering. And here's where it gets really, frustrating. Our source points out that even if your doctor does test your vitamin D,
Which isn't always guaranteed.
right, they're often looking at the level needed for bone health, not necessarily for optimal brain health. The source says the optimal range for brain protection is much higher than what usually counts as normal on those lab reports.
Right.
So there's this big testing gap, right? Millions of people might think they're fine based on a test, but their brain could actually be really vulnerable. You don't know what you don't know.
That's the critical insight the source brings out.
Mm-hmm.
Think about vitamin D like your brain's own personal security system. It stands guard at the blood-brain barrier, that super selective filter protecting your brain from stuff floating around in your bloodstream.
Right, keeps the bad stuff out.
Exactly. It's crucial. Now, when your vitamin D levels plummet, it's effectively like firing your security team.
Okay, bad idea.
Very bad. This allows toxins, inflammation, and harmful proteins to essentially flood into your brain tissue. It creates this perfect storm for memory loss, inflammation, faster cognitive decline. But, flip side, when your levels are optimal, your brain becomes a fortress, protected, fortifies against stress, pollution, just the general aging process.
Yep.
Vitamin D helps keep those gates at the blood-brain barrier nice and tight.
And the crazy thing is, as the source points out, fixing this is often remarkably simple, like 15 minutes in the morning sun or taking a high-quality supplement.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated.
It feels like such a simple solution for such a potentially massive problem. It's almost tragic that this widespread oversight is happening, with millions maybe speeding up their own decline because this easily fixable deficiency is just missed or dismissed.
Absolutely. And for you listening,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about supplementing effectively, the source is really specific.
Mm-hmm.
Look for D3, that's cholecalciferol, not D2, ergocalciferol. D3 is much more effective.
Okay, D3. Got it.
And the dose needed for brain protection is generally higher than for bones, usually at least 2,000 to 4,000 IUs daily. Quality and consistency really matter here.
Okay, pillar number 2, vitamin B12. And the source, wow, they really don't hold back here. They talk about the deficiency epidemic among seniors and call it, quote, nothing short of criminal negligence by the healthcare system.
That's incredibly strong language, isn't it?
It really is. It tells you how serious they think this problem is.
It does. It speaks volumes about the potential scale of suffering from something that could be preventable. And the key here is why it's so incredibly common and why just eating B12-rich foods often isn't the answer.
Okay.
As you get older, it's a natural thing. Your stomach produces less acid.
Yeah.
This starts happening for many people in middle age.
Right.
And less stomach acid has a direct consequence. It hinders B12 absorption from food. See, B12 in food is attached to protein, and you need that acid to break it free.
Ah, okay.
So you could be eating, steak, eggs, fish, all good B12 sources every single day and still be severely deficient because your body just can't effectively pull the B12 out.
Wow. So diet alone might not cut it for older adults.
For many, it doesn't, which makes supplementation absolutely essential in those cases.
And here's the really, really crucial part, maybe even a bit terrifying. The symptoms of B12 deficiency perfectly mimic early dementia.
Exactly.
We're talking memory issues, confusion, trouble concentrating, even mood swings like getting irritable or depressed, maybe balance problems.
It's a checklist for cognitive decline, isn't it?
It really is. So imagine someone showing all these signs and their doctor, maybe not thinking about B12, just puts it down to age-related decline, or worse, maybe even suggests early Alzheimer's.
That's the tragedy. The source highlights cases, maybe countless seniors, who were misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's when they actually had severe B12 deficiency.
And that's reversible.
Completely reversible. Often with simple, inexpensive supplements. It costs pennies to treat. Think about the horror of that misdiagnosis. Taking away hope, maybe putting someone on heavy drugs, when a simple vitamin could have solved it.
That's awful.
To use another analogy, B12 is like the electrical system in your brain. It's vital for making myelin, that insulation around your nerve fibers.
Right.
Without enough B12, the signals between your brain cells start to misfire. Thoughts get fuzzy. Memories begin to slip away like smoke. The whole communication network just starts to fray.
And it's infuriating because the source says doctors often only test for B12 when levels are already so low that irreversible nerve damage might have started.
Yeah, they wait until the deficiency is profound sometimes.
And even when they do test, the normal range on the lab report can be far too wide, which means you could be feeling that brain fog, the memory slips, the nerve tingles, and your doctor looks at the number and says, nope, You're fine. You're in the normal range.
It's one of those moments where normal is definitely not the same as optimal, especially for your brain.
Clearly.
And what's really key here is that the optimal B12 level for brain health is much higher than the minimum needed to prevent pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia is that severe, dangerous deficiency, right?
Yeah.
But the standard lab range is basically designed just to catch that, not to ensure your brain is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
That difference between low normal and optimal could literally be the difference between mental clarity and cognitive confusion in your golden years.
So if you're supplementing, what should you look for?
The source recommends the highly bioavailable forms, methylcobalamin or adenosylcobalamin. They say these are far superior to cyanocobalamin, which is the synthetic, often cheaper form you find in many basic multivitamins.
Methylcobalamin or adenosylcobalamin. Got it. Okay, third pillar, vitamin E. The source calls this one the brain's antioxidant superhero. Most people maybe think skin health, but our brains are energy hogs, right? Constantly working.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
Your brain is only about, 2% of your body weight, but it burns through 20% of your body's oxygen and calories.
Wow.
This super high metabolic rate, while obviously essential for thinking and everything else, also makes the brain incredibly vulnerable to oxidative stress.
Okay, what exactly is oxidative stress in this context?
Think of it like this. Imagine your brain cells are like apples exposed to air. They start slowly browning and deteriorating. That browning is oxidation caused by these unstable molecules called free radicals that damage cells.
Right, like rust.
Exactly. Without protection, that's kind of happening inside your brain constantly. Now, vitamin E in this picture is like coating those apple slices with lemon juice. It stops the browning, stops the oxidation that ages and damages your brain cells. It's a really powerful protector.
So it's stopping future damage, but you mentioned earlier it might even do some repair work.
Yes, that's a key point from the research in our sources. Studies consistently find that seniors with higher vitamin E levels experience significantly slower rates of cognitive decline. But what's really fascinating is that it seems it can also actually help repair neurons that have already been injured by years of oxidative stress.
That's incredible. So it's protective and restorative.
Seems that way. It's really a multi-talented antioxidant for the brain.
And this seems to be a recurring theme. There's a big warning from the source here. A place where people often go wrong with supplements. Not all vitamin E supplements are created equal.
Critically important, this one.
They say synthetic vitamin E, the kind often labeled DL-alpha-tocopherol that you see in cheaper supplements.
The common one.
Is not only less effective, but can actually interfere with the absorption of natural vitamin E from your food or other supplements. So you might actually be hindering things, or at best, just wasting your money.
Potentially, yes. The source really hammers home the need for the full spectrum of vitamin E compounds. That means alpha, beta, gamma, and delta tocopherols, plus things called tocophenols. They need to work together like a symphony orchestra.
Okay, so it's not just one molecule.
No, it's a family. These different forms have unique complementary antioxidant jobs. They work synergistically to give your brain much broader protection. Each one tackles slightly different types of oxidative threats.
So the analogy they use, synthetic E is like what?
It's like hiring a single, maybe slightly dozy security guard for a huge mansion leaves a lot of areas vulnerable.
Right.
Whereas natural mixed vitamin E, with all its components, is like having a full coordinated security team covering every door, every window, with specialists for different kinds of threats. It's just much more comprehensive, much more effective protection.
So you need to look for supplements that specifically say
natural mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols, ideally from natural sources. That's the key phrase.
Got it. Okay, pillar number 4, vitamin C. Everyone knows C for colds, maybe scurvy back in the day.
Yeah, the immune booster.
But few people realize, as the source highlights, that your brain contains higher concentrations of vitamin C than any other organ in your body. That's really surprising. Why so much?
It's a super telling detail, isn't it? It really underscores how vital C is beyond just immunity. The why comes back to the brain's unique vulnerability and that high energy use we talked about.
Okay.
Your brain cells are just under constant, relentless attack from free radicals. These are generated by normal brain activity, by stress, by pollution, inflammation. It's a constant battle. And vitamin C is essentially your brain's primary defense against this cellular warfare.
The frontline soldier.
Absolutely. It's right there on the front lines, scavenging those damaging free radicals, stopping them from harming delicate brain cells, proteins, even DNA. Plus, it's needed to make neurotransmitters and keep brain blood vessels healthy.
But here's the alarming part, according to the source. Vitamin C levels in the brain actually decline dramatically with age.
Yeah, isn't that ironic?
It really is. It happens just when you need protection the most. It's like your brain's fire department is losing firefighters just as the fires are getting bigger and more frequent. The ability to fight damage goes down right when the threats are going up.
That's a perfect analogy. And the consequences are clear. Seniors with low vitamin C show accelerated brain aging, increased inflammation in brain tissue, and higher rates of cognitive decline. Brain inflammation is a huge driver of neurodegeneration.
But the flip side, if you optimize levels.
That's the good news. When vitamin C levels are good, not only does the damage slow down, but brain cells actually begin to repair and regenerate.
Wow, regeneration again.
Yeah. It suggests adequate C isn't just a shield, it's also a crucial part of the brain's own healing toolkit. It helps maintain a more youthful, resilient brain environment.
And it also ties into that synergy idea again, right? The source mentions C works synergistically with other antioxidants, particularly vitamin E, creating a protective network.
Like they recharge each other.
So it's more powerful together than alone, like having different experts collaborating.
Exactly. And this point is so important. It helps explain why sometimes studies on just one isolated nutrient might fail to show big benefits.
Right.
While approaches using whole foods or comprehensive supplements often do show brain protection. Nature designed these things to work as a team, supporting each other, extending how long they can protect you. It's the whole orchestra, remember, not just one instrument trying to play the whole symphony.
Makes sense. So for supplements, what's the recommendation here?
The source suggests looking for buffered forms, like calcium ascorbate or magnesium ascorbate, which are gentler on the stomach than plain ascorbic acid, and ideally ones that also contain bioflavonoids.
Bioflavonoids.
Yeah, these are compounds often found alongside vitamin C in fruits and veggies. They seem to enhance C's absorption and antioxidant power, nature's little helpers.
Okay, buffered C with bioflavonoids. Pillar number 5, vitamin K2. Now this one, the source says, might be the most overlooked nutrient in all of brain health research.
It really flies under the radar.
And they make a point to say it's not K1 the one in leafy greens for blood clotting. K2 is different, plays a totally different role, but apparently vital for the brain.
It's fascinating. K2's big job seems to be managing calcium in the body. As we age, calcium can start building up in the wrong places, not just hardening arteries, which we hear about.
Right, cardiovascular risk.
But also in your brain tissue. And when that happens, researchers actually call them brainstones.
Brainstones, seriously.
Seriously. Little hard deposits of calcium that literally interfere with normal brain function and contribute to cognitive decline. These microcalcifications can mess up nerve signals, block neurotransmitters, promote inflammation, basically gumming up the works from the inside.
That's a really disturbing image. Brainstones. Sounds like something you'd want to avoid. It's like having gravel in the gears of a finely tuned machine, as the source puts it. Everything just starts grinding and malfunctioning.
It's a great analogy. And vitamin K2 acts like a very specific traffic cop for calcium.
Okay.
It literally directs calcium to where it belongs, strengthening your bones and teeth, and actively removes it from where it doesn't belong, like your brain, your arteries, other soft tissues.
How does it do that?
It activates certain proteins. These proteins then bind to calcium and either shuttle it into bone or stop it from getting deposited where it shouldn't be. And the result? Seniors with good K2 levels show dramatically less brain calcification and better cognitive performance than those who are low in it.
So if K2 is so important, why are so many people apparently low in it? Why isn't this common knowledge?
Well, the source points squarely at big shifts in our diet. K2 is mainly found in things like fermented foods, especially natto fermented soybeans, certain types of cheese, and also organ meats.
Things most people don't eat much of anymore.
Exactly. These are foods that most seniors stopped eating decades ago, if they ever ate them regularly. Plus, our gut bacteria can make some K2, but modern diets and antibiotics often mean our gut microbiomes aren't as healthy or diverse as they used to be.
So diet changes and gut health play a role.
If you look historically, the source notes, traditional cultures that ate plenty of fermented foods and nutrient-rich organ meats often had remarkable brain health way into old age with very little dementia.
Interesting contrast.
Contrast that with modern seniors eating processed diets largely devoid of K2 who experience widespread cognitive decline. The source argues this is not coincidence, it's cause and effect, a direct link.
Okay, so for supplementation, if you choose to go that route,
The advice is very clear here. Look for the MK7 form of vitamin K2, not MK4.
MK7. Why?
MK7 stays active in your body much, much longer than MK4. It has a longer half-life, meaning it's more effective at reaching tissues like the brain and doing its job over time.
Got it.
Yeah.
MK7. Okay, final pillar, number 6. Folate. Oh, wait, there's a crucial distinction here right at the start, isn't there? The source says we need natural bioactive folate, not the synthetic stuff called folic acid that's in fortified foods and many supplements.
This distinction is absolutely critical. It's probably one of the most important takeaways for supplementation. If you miss this, you might miss the whole benefit, or worse.
Worse. How?
Well, what's really fascinating and vital for potentially a lot of listeners is that nearly 40% of the population has a common genetic variation. It's often related to something called the MTHFR gene.
Okay.
And this variation makes it impossible for them to properly convert synthetic folic acid into the active form their brain actually needs, which is called L-methylfolate.
40%? That's a huge number of people.
It is. And for these individuals, taking synthetic folic acid could actually make your brain health worse.
How could it make it worse?
Because the unconverted folic acid can build up in their bloodstream. And weirdly, it can then block the body's ability to use the natural folate they might be getting from food. So it acts like an imposter that gums up the works.
Wow. Okay, so people innocently taking folic acid thinking it's folate might actually be causing a problem if they have this gene variation.
Exactly. It's a major potential issue that's not widely understood.
So real, natural, active folate, L-methylfolate, what does it do? The source calls it a master key.
Yeah, a master key that unlocks your brain's ability to produce essential neurotransmitters, think serotonin, dopamine, the mood regulators, also to repair DNA, and crucially, to clear out toxic waste products that build up in brain cells. It's fundamental for so many core brain functions.
Okay, sounds vital. So if levels are low.
Especially the active form. If your levels are low, your brain literally can't clean house properly. Toxic stuff, particularly an amino acid called homocysteine, starts to build up.
Homocysteine, I've heard that's bad.
It is. At high levels, it's considered a neurotoxin. Elevated homocysteine is strongly linked to a higher risk of dementia and also heart disease. Plus, neurotransmitter production slows down, cognitive function just begins to decline. You need enough active folate to keep the brain clean and running smoothly.
And there's teamwork involved here too, right? Folate doesn't work alone.
Right. It works really closely with vitamin B12, which we already talked about, and also vitamin B6. They work together in a critical process called the methylation cycle.
Methylation sounds complicated.
It is biochemically complex, but the bottom line is it's absolutely critical for brain health. It influences everything from how your genes are expressed to detoxification pathways. The source uses a great analogy. They call these 3 vitamins, folate, B12, B6, or relay team.
Okay.
If any one member of the team is missing or lagging behind, deficient, the baton gets dropped. The whole cycle breaks down and the entire system suffers.
Again, the source suggests these kinds of problems, the methylation cycle breaking down, toxins building up, neurotransmitters slowing. These are things often attributed to normal aging,
Right.
when they're actually the result of preventable nutritional deficiencies. It's that same powerful reframe again. What we think of as an inevitable decline might actually be fixable or at least improvable with the right nutrients.
So for supplementation, given that 40% genetic issue,
The source is unequivocal. Methylfolate, specifically L-methylfolate, is the only form they recommend. It bypasses those common genetic variations entirely, ensuring your brain gets the active, usable form it absolutely needs. Forget folic acid, look for methylfolate.
okay, methylfolate, got it. So we've gone through all 6 individually. D, B12, E, C, K2, and folate as methylfolate. Bodyguard, electrical system, antioxidant hero, primary defense, traffic cop, master key.
Quite the team.
But the source really keeps coming back to this core idea. They don't work in isolation.
Yeah.
It's not about picking one. They work together like instruments in an orchestra. It's the symphony that matters. Precisely. What they highlight is the profound synergistic effect, meaning the combined benefit is far greater than the sum of the individual parts.
Okay, synergy. How does that work here?
Think back to the security team analogy. Is it better to have 6 individual security guards just standing around randomly, maybe bumping into each other?
No, probably not.
Or is it better to have a coordinated security team with a comprehensive protection plan where each member supports and enhances what the others are doing?
The coordinated team, obviously.
Exactly. Your brain seems to thrive on this kind of nutritional teamwork. These vitamins interact, They help regenerate each other, like C helps regenerate E, amplifying their protective power. It's why a holistic approach addressing multiple nutrients is often way more effective than just megadosing one thing.
And the results, when people address these comprehensively, the source says they can be truly remarkable.
Yeah, they share anecdotes of seniors who are really struggling memory issues, that constant brain fog, confusion, who experienced dramatic improvements in mental clarity, sustained energy, and overall cognitive function within just a few weeks of consistently getting these nutrients right.
That's incredibly hopeful. It's not magic, obviously, but it suggests a powerful intervention is possible for many.
It really does. But there's always a but, isn't there? Here's the catch, and it ties back to that big pharma point we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
The source states, quite bluntly, that most doctors are never taught about nutritional approaches to brain health in medical school.
Really? Not at all.
Very little, apparently.
Yeah.
Their training focuses primarily on diagnosing diseases and prescribing medications, not necessarily on optimizing nutrition for prevention and healing. Medical school curriculums historically just don't dedicate much time to clinical nutrition, especially preventive nutrition for chronic stuff like cognitive decline.
So even if your doctor is great and well-meaning,
They simply might not have this information in their standard toolkit. It wasn't part of their core training.
which means the implication is pretty clear, isn't it? You'll likely need to take charge of your own brain health. You probably can't just wait for this conversation to happen in a standard doctor's visit.
That seems to be the reality for many. You have to become your own advocate, armed with knowledge like this.
And it gets even more complicated, doesn't it? Because the source brings up something really concerning. Many common prescription drugs, the ones seniors often take for other conditions, actually deplete these very same brain protective vitamins, creating this awful vicious cycle.
Yeah. This is a truly shocking point, and one that really highlights how fragmented healthcare can sometimes be. The drugs meant to help one problem might inadvertently worsen another by robbing your brain of essential nutrients.
It's like you're trying to bail water out of a boat while someone else is drilling holes in the bottom. The source gives specific examples, right? Things people might be taking right now.
They do, and they're quite common medications. For instance, proton pump inhibitors, PPIs. Those drugs for heartburn, taken by millions, are notorious for blocking B12 absorption.
Wow. Okay.
Statins for cholesterol, another huge category of drugs, can interfere with vitamin K metabolism and deplete vitamin E. Blood pressure medications, while obviously crucial for heart health, can unfortunately deplete B vitamins and vitamin C. And diabetes medications, vital for blood sugar, often interfere with B12 and folate absorption.
This is huge. Are patients usually told about this?
That's the problem. The source says doctors rarely inform patients about these drug-induced nutrient depletions or recommend supplementation to compensate. So you're taking a drug that depletes a nutrient, but nobody tells you to maybe take extra of that nutrient.
It's like draining the oil from your car while demanding better performance, as the source says. The system is just set up to fail eventually.
It's a really worrying potential side effect that isn't discussed enough and could have major long-term consequences for brain health.
Okay, so if medications can deplete these, and doctors aren't always focused on nutritional prevention, what about just eating a balanced diet? That's the standard advice, right? Is that enough these days?
Well, the source really challenges that assumption too. They explain that our food system has changed dramatically. The actual nutrient density of foods has declined significantly over the past 50 years.
Declined? How?
Think about decades of intensive farming practices, relying on the same crops over and over, using lots of pesticides and herbicides. It's depleted the soil of essential minerals.
Right. The soil health isn't what it used to be.
Exactly. So even the fruits and vegetables we eat today often contain fewer vitamins and minerals than the same foods did, say, 50 years ago. So even if you're eating really well, trying to get a balanced diet, you might still not be getting the optimal levels of these crucial brain vitamins that our aging brains really need, especially in today's stressful world.
It's like a modern food paradox. We have more food available than ever, but maybe less fundamental nutrition in it.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, this might sound a bit overwhelming, but the source emphasizes the good news here. And it's genuinely empowering. You can start using this knowledge right away. You don't necessarily need a doctor's permission to change your food choices or to start taking high-quality supplements. You don't need fancy, expensive tests or procedures to begin protecting your brain today. The power really is in your hands.
It absolutely is. And what's fascinating is that it really boils down to a commitment to prioritize your brain health, just like you'd prioritize, I don't know, your finances or your relationships or getting exercise.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices now that will have a huge impact on your mental future. The power is right there.
And let's talk cost for a second, because people might hear 6 vitamins and think, that sounds expensive, but the source puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. They make a really compelling comparison. You probably spend more money on cable television each month than it would cost to supplement with all 6 of these brain protective vitamins.
That really hits home when you frame it like that.
It makes you think, right? It's likely a relatively small investment for potentially such a massive return in terms of quality of life.
And it's not just money, it's time, too.
Exactly. The source adds, you likely spend more time watching TV or scrolling on social media than it would take to plan and prepare brain-healthy meals or research good supplements. The choice, they say very directly, is yours. How do you allocate your resources, time and money towards what really matters for your long-term brain health? It's an invitation to maybe reevaluate priorities.
And the timing here is so important. The source really stresses taking action now before symptoms appear.
Crucial point.
Because by the time you notice memory problems, significant, often extensive damage has already occurred. This isn't just about stopping future decline. It's about protecting the brain function you have right now. It has to be proactive, not reactive.
Yes. Our healthcare system's often reactive, right? We wait for the problem. But think about maintaining a classic car. You perform regular maintenance to prevent problems before they start, don't you? You change the oil, check the fluids. You don't wait until the engine blows up or the brakes completely fail.
Right, that would be crazy and expensive.
Exactly. Your brain, which is way more valuable than any car, deserves the same proactive, consistent care. These 6 vitamins are kind of like premium oil and regular tune-ups for your neural engine, keeping it running smoothly and powerfully for the long haul.
I like that. Okay, so for you listening, after taking all this in, what's the action plan? What can you do right now? The source lays out a clear 5-step roadmap.
Step 1 is basically get informed. We've covered a lot today, but this is just the start. The advice is to write down these 6 vitamins D, B12, E, C, K2, and folate as methylfolate, and commit to learning more about each one from reliable sources. Knowledge is power, right? That's the first step.
Okay, step 1, learn more. Step 2, dietary assessment.
Yeah, take a really honest look at what you eat currently. Are you regularly getting foods rich in these nutrients? Things like fatty fish for D and maybe B12, leafy greens K1, some folate, nuts and seeds E, citrus fruits C, maybe some fermented foods K2. Honestly assess whether you're getting adequate amounts, keeping in mind that whole issue of declining nutrient density in our food.
Right. Be realistic about your intake. Step 3, test your levels.
The source recommends, if possible, getting blood tests to check your current levels of vitamin D and B12 at minimum.
Why those 2 specifically?
Because they're the easiest to test and often the most efficient in seniors. It gives you a baseline. But crucially, when you get the results, discuss optimal levels for brain health with your provider, not just the bare minimum to avoid outright deficiency disease.
Okay, test D and B12 if possible. Step 4, smart supplementation.
Yes, smart supplementation.
Yeah.
If you decide to supplement, which the source suggests many people will need to, do it wisely. They've warned, don't just buy the cheapest options at the drugstore. Your brain deserves better.
Right, quality matters.
Absolutely. And remember to choose those active bioavailable forms we talked about. D3, around 2,000, 4,000 IU. Mecobalamin or adenosylcobalamin for B12. Natural mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols for E. Buffered C with bioflavonoids, MK7 for K2, and methylfolate. Getting the right form is just as important as getting the nutrient itself.
We'll make sure all the specific forms are clearly listed in the show notes for everyone. Okay, and the final step, step 5, seek knowledgeable guidance.
This is key. Try to find a healthcare provider who understands nutritional medicine, not just pharmaceutical medicine.
Like a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath.
Exactly. Practitioners like functional medicine doctors, naturopathic doctors, or integrative medicine specialists often have much more training in this area. They can help you interpret tests correctly, using optimal ranges, and create a personalized plan. It might take some searching, but finding the right guide can make a huge difference.
Makes sense. Find someone who speaks this language.
And overarching all of this is the final piece of advice. Consistency is key. Don't just do it for a week. Implement these changes gradually but consistently. Because it's those small actions taken every single day over time that really create profound transformations in your health. Your future self is counting on the choices you make today.
It's powerful stuff. Your brain, I mean, think about it. It's carried you through everything in life, right? All the challenges, the joys, the learning, the experiences.
Everything that makes you you.
Exactly. It holds your memories, your personality, your hopes. It really, truly deserves your protection now, especially now as the years go by and the challenges maybe increase. The cost of just letting things slide is potentially immense.
And the power to act is literally in your hands. Right now, today, this moment. The advice is clear. Don't wait for memory problems to show up. By then, you're playing catch up, and that's always harder. Don't just assume your regular doctor will initiate this conversation. Most aren't trained for it until symptoms are obvious. And please, don't just rely on a standard balanced diet being enough anymore. Our food supply has changed. The nutrient levels often aren't what they used to be.
So it really comes down to a choice, doesn't it? A question for you listening to maybe reflect on. Will you rise to this challenge? Will you give your brain the smart, proactive protection it deserves now that you have this information? Or will you kind of continue down that path of more passive aging, just hoping for the best, while maybe not actively doing what you could to protect your most valuable asset, your mind, your memories, your very sense of who you are?
The choice is yours. The information is out there. And the time to start, well, it's right now.